Okay, now we're going to talk about sheep brains, and let me pull this one glove off so I can hold the camera and point to things. So normally with the sheep brains, we can see all of the lobes of the cerebrum. Again, we've got our frontal lobe, our parietal lobe, our temporal lobe, and back here is the occipital lobe. You can see the cerebellum. And with the sheep brains, when we cut these open and look at the sagittal view of the sheep brain, we've got the corpus callosum right here. Okay, so this right here is the corpus callosum. Here's the fornix. Okay, and let me see, I'm actually going to use this guy right here for the structures. So here's our corpus callosum. Here's the fornix. Okay, on this little guy you can see the pineal gland. It's that little pine cone shaped gland. Back here we have the corpora quadrigemina with the superior and inferior colliculi. This is the superior colliculus, this is the inferior colliculus. Okay, and then right here, this round circular structure is the intermediate mass or interthalamic adhesion. Remember we said that takes up most of the thalamus. And just anterior and inferior to the intermediate mass or interthalamic adhesion, we've got the optic chiasm. In between these two structures is where you're going to find your hypothalamus. And then posterior to the optic chiasm, you might see this other little white dot right here. This right here is the mammillary body. And then here we have anterior to the corpora quadrigemina, we have the midbrain or mesencephalon, the pons, which is very tiny on the sheep, and then all of this down here is the medulla oblongata. Here we have the cerebellum, and you can see the arbor vitae, which is the white matter inside the cerebellum. The lateral ventricles are inside here. Okay, that's where the lateral ventricles will be found. The third ventricle would be around the diencephalon. Okay, and then it goes back down through the cerebral aqueduct to the fourth ventricle, which would be right in here. Usually when we test on the ventricles, we're going to use the actual model for the ventricles. So those are some of the structures on the sheep brain, at least on the sagittal view. Now I want to point out something to you guys. Between the lateral ventricles, and that's on this model, I pulled this guy out for a reason, you can see that clear piece of connective tissue called the septum pellucidum. Okay, so there's the septum pellucidum. I also pulled this guy out here because he's got that dura mater, that tough outer layer. And then on this guy, if we turn him over, you can see those huge olfactory bulbs, okay, on the underside of the frontal lobe. So these are the olfactory bulbs, and then going from the olfactory bulbs, we have the olfactory tracts. Right here we've got the optic nerves and the optic chiasm. If we didn't have as large of a crossing, you can also kind of see that X on this sheep. So here would be the optic nerves. Here's the optic chiasm, the crossing, and then coming away from that are the optic tracts. And that's the sheep brain.